It's been 15 years since we first played Battlefield 1942, and since then, the way that the Battlefield franchise has changed has been insane. Each new game tried to carry forward what made the previous game great, but also innovate wherever they could. That being said, sometimes a game would be released with some features missing that were present in previous games. So in this video, I wanted to just go through how Battlefield has changed over the years, what we've lost, what we've gained, and what features have come and gone, and maybe some that I'd like to see return. First up, game modes. In BF 1942, there was 3 modes: Conquest, Team Deathmatch, and then Capture the Flag. Battlefield 2, however, did not have Capture the Flag, but Battlefield 2 Modern Combat on consoles did, and then it didn't reappear until the endgame DLC in Battlefield 3. It also showed up, of course, in BF4, but so far it's not been included in BF1. Speaking of modes in BF3, do you remember Scavenger mode? I really enjoyed Scavenger, but it's never made it into another Battlefield game since. It was added with the Aftermath DLC. Gun Game or Gunmaster were also a game mode in BF3 and BF4, but that too has not made it into BF1 for the time being. I'd personally love to see it. Of course, BF Hardline had some unique game modes, but it's no real surprise that a lot of them haven't made it across to the other games because they were very specific to the design of that game, and we all know how controversial it was in the first place. Game modes like Heist, Hotwire and Blood Money are very specific to the police and criminals theme. Now, Battlefield Bad Company 2, BF3 and BF4 also had Squad Rush, which back in the BF3 days was a very popular competitive game mode. Not so much in BF4 however. BF4 did have Squad Obliteration though, which was meant to be a similar take on Squad Rush, but based on BF4's Obliteration game mode. BF3, get this, even had a co-op mode, which, well, it wasn't really something that many people played, and as such it never made it onto BF4. It kind of felt rushed and very tacked on, just so there could be an extra tick on the back of the box to say, hey, we've got a co-op game mode as well. I do wonder though if Battlefield will ever have a co-op game mode similar to what COD has with zombies. Perhaps not zombies based, but a similar fully fledged co-op mode. Not sure how well that would work, but I think it could be very interesting. Dinosaurs perhaps? Who knows? BF Hardline though, for all its controversy, actually had some great features that it brought to the franchise. Simple things like being able to take ammo from a support teammate without them dropping it, and health from a medic. Although that one perhaps, while great for the player that needs the ammo and the health, it isn't great for team play in general. But to be fair, it does alleviate some frustrations when you're looking for some health or ammo and the support player or the medic just aren't paying attention. Hardline also very cleverly introduced a visual cap indicator on the minimap to show you exactly where the capture radius of a flag starts and ends. This was a great feature and it's now in BF1 as well, as it was added to BF4. I don't think the taking of ammo and health will come anytime soon though. What about movement? Well, I always felt that the movement in BF3 was pretty good. Sure, there was a lot of jumping around, hopping up banana on Grand Bazaar, or even jumping from spawn to gain an extra speed boost. That was the thing back then. BF4's movement was a little bit more clunky in comparison, but when you play BF1 and then you go back to those games, you realise that the movement in BF1 is far smoother and better in my opinion, not to mention the addition of the climbing mechanic. BF3 and BF4 had vaulting over small objects, but it could be a little bit buggy at times. However, BF1 refined it pretty well and added in the ability to climb higher walls, which makes a massive difference when traversing the map. When I go back and play BF3 and BF4, I often find myself trying to climb over large walls or vault over bigger objects, and I feel very restricted. And I hope that the climbing and vaulting mechanic remains in the next Battlefield game. I think it's a great addition that BF1 had. Something out of the game that BF3 brought to the franchise was Battle Log, which again was not that well received at first, but honestly, I did enjoy Battle Log when I got used to it. It feels very archaic now, but one thing that Battlelog did do well was battle reports. Being able to see reports of your past games with stats and have one set place where you can view your overall stats was actually quite nice. BF3, 4 and Hardline all use the battle log system, but BF1 went down a different route entirely. I actually think being able to see previous game reports is something that BF1 is missing. Battle log made it very easy to check player profiles, stats, manage friends, and in all truth the system was often better than the current Battlefield 1 UI. Sometimes the UI in BF1 doesn't work as intended, especially in the party system or when you're trying to get friends into a game together. But speaking of working as intended, we have to talk about the server rental program. Sadly, the functionality of BF1 is far worse than on previous games. BF2, 3, 4 and Hardline all allowed private server rentals with far more features and admin possibilities than BF1. And this was great for the communities to set up their own servers with unique presets and settings. I do think though that when the next Battlefield game comes out, the server admin system will be a little bit more in-depth, but it's hard to argue that it went backwards in that regard. And BF1 also got rid of Commander mode. This one has been a bit hit and miss over the past few years. Commander was a big hit in BF2, but it was missing from BF3 as DICE weren't happy with how it turned out. And then for BF4 it was reintroduced, but then it was missing from BF1. Honestly, I think that Commander mode is a feature of the past anyway. It worked well on BF2, but back then it was brand new and interesting. On BF4, not so much. I don't think it's a feature that's particularly missed or asked for, or one that will return in future Battlefield games. How about destruction then? Well, a huge feature in Battlefield games, of course. In Bad Company 2, if you remember, you could level entire buildings. The destruction was very well done there, but it also left players with very little cover. Skip to BF3 and the destruction was toned down quite a bit, and rather than being able to destroy everything, it was a bit more particular in what could and couldn't be destroyed. Sides of buildings, the tower on Caspian border, there was plenty to be destroyed still, but there was some excellent gameplay opportunities by firing grenade launchers or rocket launchers at the tops of buildings and getting satisfying rubble kill drops. But then when BF4 launched, its big promotional feature was Levolution, huge destruction events that completely changed the flow of the game. Siege of Shanghai, for instance, played and looked completely different when the tower came down. On Paracel Storm you could set the destroyer to come into land and breach the island. They all looked incredible, and I remember the first time I saw the tower come down on Shanghai and being blown away. Maybe cool once or twice, but after a while they just become really gimmicky and actually affect certain maps in a negative way. Now BF1 pretty much removed big Levolution events and went back to a more toned down destruction model. I think it's in a good place in BF1. You can still destroy some buildings, but some walls will always remain there to offer a bit of cover. You could also say that in a way the different weather effects of the maps are kind of a Levolution, because they do affect the game and force you to play differently, especially when fog or rain comes into effect. Also in BF1, instead of Levolution, you could say that behemoths were added for the first time. The intention was to have huge map-changing vehicles that could turn the tide of battle. Seeing a huge blimp in the sky coming crashing down onto the map dynamically, well, that's also something that blows you away the first time you see it, but I think overall behemoths are pretty useless and just a major annoyance on some of the maps. I do wonder though if that will carry across to the new games though. I personally wouldn't care if behemoths weren't in the next game, and I'd much rather focus on balanced gameplay without any major crutches. Much like elite classes, to be fair, they were completely new for BF1. Powerful player pickups such as a flame trooper or sentry with big guns and big damage. They fit in with the theme of BF1 though. I'm not sure how well they would work in a modern Battlefield title. Now we're coming to the end here, but I couldn't not mention Easter eggs either. Easter eggs have always been a thing in Battlefield games, but I'd say until BF4 they were usually small things that you would find scattered around the levels. There were some cool ones in BF3, but in BF4 the Easter eggs were turned up a notch with the Phantom program and the Megalodon, which was arguably one of the best Easter eggs I've ever seen in a game. Searching for it, working out the mechanics, and actually seeing something like that in a live 64-player Battlefield game was amazing. It was a fantastic community event where everyone got together. Since then, we've had huge Easter eggs in Battlefield Hardline and plenty to get stuck into in BF1. With each new level and patch, they get more complicated and intricate. I know Easter eggs aren't to everyone's taste, but I personally hope that they carry on that trend, as I love that sort of thing. Now, wrapping things up, we can't not mention the netcode either. I love the gameplay of BF3 for instance, but when you go back recently, you notice how far the latest Battlefield game has come from a technical standpoint in relation to the netcode. Getting shot well behind cover is not something that I remember fondly, but sadly, it's still a thing in BF3. In BF1, it very rarely happens. The same with trade kills as well. In fact, a YouTuber called Battle Nonsense has done a few tests on the BF1 netcode and revealed that it's actually got one of the best netcodes in current multiplayer games, which is very impressive considering that we're playing on 64-player servers here. And let's not forget about suppression either, as it used to be. Blue filter and chain revives, I think we can all be happy that those things remained in the past. Sure, we do still have suppression in BF1, but it's nothing quite like it used to be in BF3. So that's all for this one, guys. Do let me know down in the comments below, what are your favourite and least favourite features or gameplay mechanics that have been introduced or lost along the way of the Battlefield franchise? And what are you hoping for in BF 2018? If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, a thumbs down. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you in the next one.